Hello and welcome to episode 328 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and 328 is an impressive number.
It is. That shows the dedication and the committedness, all the good stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's fun. We've enjoyed it for 6 years.
Yeah. As crazy as that
It's hard to
sounds.
believe it's been 6 years.
Yeah, it very, very, very much is.
So where would you like to start today, Jay?
Well, I guess let's start out where we don't normally start out. Let's go U.S. Women's National Soccer Team. Let's give them some love.
Yeah, they play again on Wednesday night. I guess, it's one of those things. You didn't win by enough. You didn't dominate them. You didn't kill them. Whatever. You won 3-0. 3-0 to me in soccer, that's a whoop. It's a whooping 3-0.
I think so.
But we aren't the experts, so we've got to defer. But I mean, the team looks really good. They've got a lot of depth. They've got some senior people that are playing lesser roles. They got some young people that are playing big roles, and it'll be fun to see what happens.
And I think you got two very women who are on their team for the first time that look like stars, right? Like They could be in, I guess they don't really do Wheaties ads anymore, but like you could see them with some crossover appeal, right?
Absolutely.
And, it seems like it feels like the women's soccer has been the soccer that's really grown in America. Now I know we can transition into pro soccer with Messi making his debut with a lot of fanfare, right?
Hey, America loves a star.
They love a star. But I do feel like we have this conversation in sports since I was a child, going on decade after decade now of soccer's coming. And it feels like it's already got its niche, I suppose,
I would say soccer's here.
Yeah.
It's here. And, but when they showed the highlights of Messi, we had to see Serena. We had to see Kardashian.
Right.
We had to still see all the fans in the stands like you'd see at an NBA game. And they said, see, you should like this because these people like it, which I never buy into. If they're there, that's great. But are they there because they want to be seen, or are they there because they want to be there?
I'm assuming some of them probably got influence and money to be there.
I'm assuming you're probably right.
Where it's like, we want to make this a big deal. And again, I think if you watch the best soccer highlights in the world, which I've done, it's exciting. You watch some incredible goals, some headers, some bicycle kicks, people breaking people down. But in the NBA, you might get one of those plays. You might get two of those plays a quarter, right? Mm-hmm. In soccer, you might get one of those plays every 3 games. And
unless you're Man City.
Unless you're Man City.
Enough star power that you might have a play a game.
Yeah. And I think that's just tough for the American. And I think, obviously too, when we talk about, without getting, but there's just so much to do right now as far as content. Even with the strike going on, there's TV, movie, books, audiobooks, podcasts. People like watching influencers and YouTube videos and video games. And it's just harder and harder to be the thing, I think.
Yeah, it is. I was looking forward to the U.S. and England in women's soccer. But England only beat Haiti 1-0, and they're already all over that team now because you have probably one of the team with the most resources against a team with arguably the least resources.
Yeah.
So how does that work out? And so, again, when the expectations are there, sometimes they're unrealistic. Sometimes the game, we say in other sports it's okay to win ugly, but I'm not hearing that with regard to this first round of women's soccer.
No. And I guess if you want to continue on our non-traditional Sutton Impact Family Style podcast, let's do golf.
Let's do golf. I'm watching Brian Harmon, he started 12 under today, dropped down to 10 under. I think he even dropped down to 9 under. Now he's back at 12 under on the 10th hole, and he's got a 5-stroke lead. And I can't see him blowing a 5-stroke lead. I just don't see it happening.
Especially with the conditions you said, right?
And now, it's still raining. It's not raining as bad as it was, but it's still raining. And the rough is the rough. I mean, this is a links course. I mean, if you're off, if you're in the rough, you're in the rough. You're not like in an American golf course. It's rough.
Yeah. And I guess today's going to be more of like a PTI quick segment thing. So let's transition to, you saw a player who is maybe the best in the world, one of the best we've ever seen. Pretty frustrated, right?
Yeah, I watched Ohtani and the Pirates on Friday night. Ohtani gave up 4 home runs, struck out a couple times. And then yesterday he struck out a couple more times, went in the dugout, took off his helmet, started banging it on the bench, and it popped up and hit him in the face. And I've never seen Ohtani anything but Joe Cool.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised. So I don't know if all the uncertainty and all the pressure is kind of getting to him. I mean, I don't know how much pressure is there. He's going to get a boatload of money.
All the money, yeah.
Obviously, he doesn't know where it's going to be, but, you know, I'm kind of, Seattle's my dark horse.
And he is.
He lives there in the off season. It's got a high percentage of Asian population, particularly Japanese. I think he's comfortable there. I think he likes the climate. It's probably closer to Japan. And, you know, they're poised to win. They've got a nice, young, exciting team.
Yeah. And, you know, he's probably the greatest trade asset in baseball history, not just because he's amazing, but I mean, you're getting a front level pitcher and one of the best hitters in baseball with one player. Like,
yeah, and I agree with you on that, because people say, what about Babe Ruth? Well, Babe Ruth didn't do it for a long time. You know, he was a pitcher, and so he only hit on those days. There wasn't a DH.
yeah.
So on days when he pitched, he hit. And then he became a full-time hitter, and he didn't pitch anymore. But Ohtani's done this now for a couple of years, so there's nobody that's done this to this extent. Nobody.
Yeah. And,
But you have to say, you know, to me, the bidding starts at 600 million. 600 million. Has to.
Which is just crazy, but has to.
And I would, if you told me he could get $1 billion, I would believe it. You know, but there's only certain markets could give him $1 billion.
Yeah. Old school Yankees.
And because you don't have a cap in baseball,
yeah,
you can go as high as you want. I mean, you know, let's say he goes with the Dodgers. Obviously, the Dodgers can start signing. You know, they've always had a history of international players.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's in LA proper with a very prestigious team. You know, does he start bringing in a lot of Japanese money in partnerships?
Right.
Does he bring in a lot of tourism, people coming over to watch him play? I don't know. I just think whatever he gets, he's worth. And you can't say that too often.
No, and he's going to be the number one selling
whatever
jersey.
Whatever he gets, he's worth. And whatever, and I would always pay to watch Ohtani. Like I would pay to watch Russell Westbrook in his prime. I would pay to watch Charles Barkley in his prime. I would pay to watch Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there's certain players that no matter what, you're going to pay to watch them. And he's one.
Yeah, and like you said, the second he goes to your team, he's the number one selling jersey on your team, and it's going through the roof, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and then you get the people, you know, you get some rappers and some other
Your TV ratings are going to go through the roof. You're going to get a new TV deal for your local media. You're probably going to get a Japanese television deal. You're going to get an amazing amount there's going to be an ROI. He's going to decide where he wants to go. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. Would you, if you're a contending team, like you know, like I guess anyone in the AL East at this point, because I've heard Tampa mentioned as well, and it's hard to imagine Tampa being able to retain him in free agency, right? But if you're on the brink of another championship, would you trade the farm? I guess it's technically a farm system, so literally the farm for Ohtani for half a season?
Here's why I would do it if I was Tampa.
Okay.
All right. If I'm Tampa, all right, what's the biggest question in Tampa? Can they draw?
Yeah.
All right, so you get Ohtani for the rest of the year. All right. If Ohtani doesn't draw, if he's not the reason people come to see the Rays, right?
Right.
And even with Ohtani, you can't draw. Then that tells me welcome to Nashville.
Yeah.
But if he does draw, now you're going to get the sweetest stadium deal ever. So the Rays, I think, should be a player because they have the most. To me, they have the most at stake. They can either define their terms to stay in the area, or they're going to be the most attractive team to relocate. So it just makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I like that too. And as we pointed out in baseball trade talk and draft talk, you can trade 10 draft picks for Otani, and there's a chance none of them won't be good.
And even if one does, he's not going to be Otani.
Yeah.
Even if 5 of them do, they're going to be good players, but they're not going to be Otani.
Very true.
And there was a bunch of just crazy stuff written, like package Trout and Rendon and Otani all together.
Oh, wow.
That'd be like $130 million worth of salary.
Wow.
Yeah. And just get an amazing haul for the future. But again, it's not like the NBA. It's not like the NFL. It's not like those picks. You're going to be able to use those picks next year. It's not going to happen.
Right. And even the promising guys in your farm system that look good in AA and AAA, like, odds are against them ever becoming, a multiple-time All-Star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. But, I mean, we're coming. It's a week. I'm going to predict he doesn't go anywhere.
Okay.
I'm going to predict the Angels hold on to him, try and make some moves in the offseason, and re-recruit him as a free agent. That's what I'm going to – that's my prediction. Because I just don't really – and here's why that's my – although I like the Rays scenario.
Yes.
Okay. But if you're the general manager of the Angels and you make a trade, it doesn't matter what you get back.
No.
You're reviled, you're hated, you're an idiot. You're just there's no winning with this deal. You lost the best player in baseball on your watch. That's what happened.
Yeah, historically speaking, relative now to
That's it. Say whatever you want to say, but you lost the best player in baseball, and you just can't make that move. Whereas if you retain him, then you go to the mat and you say, hey, we did everything we could. We offered him everything. We wanted him to stay here. This is what happened. And he went somewhere else. And you're not going to get anything back, but it's baseball. And like I said, you can't explain what you got back anyhow to the average fan because they're not going to know.
It's true. I guess the only quantifier would that be if you're the Angels GM and you brought in Otani and his team, let's say his handlers or whoever he's brought, and they make it clear to you, like, he's lost faith in this organization, barring a championship this year, which he is going to do everything in his power to help you guys get, but you guys are the Angels, and
yeah,
odds are against you. He's going somewhere else next year. Then you got to pull the trigger then, right? If that was made clear to them.
We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I was wearing my Angels hat today. Okay.
Okay.
And the front of my Angels hat says Angels established 1961. And the Angels have always been my second favorite team. Always.
That's true.
And in 1961, I was 10. And I was in St. Norbert's grade school. So maybe I think we were my second favorite team because I was in Catholic school and they were called the Angels. I don't know. Just, when you try and explain something, I just don't know.
Yeah. It was like my dalliance with the Seattle Seahawks for a couple of years. And,
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I don't even know.
You had a nice Seahawks jersey.
I did.
And you were a big Iowa Hawkeyes fan for a while.
Yeah, I think some of that, Uncle Tom had some influence on that one and some of the play,
Yeah.
At least there was some connection, whereas, in Miami.
And they wore Steeler uniforms.
Yeah, and like you got Miami and you've got, the U, where they were just the cool team. And the Fab Five were the cool team. If you're a kid, you just liked them. Whereas Seattle was just a random, I don't know, I just like them.
Yeah. And they're wearing those uniforms this year. Do you know that?
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
I saw all white Steeler uniforms that I thought were pretty cool looking for like a one-game thing.
Yeah. I remember when they wore those. They wore those with a yellow helmet, too, and a black helmet.
Yeah, I saw one. It was a mock-up. It was all white with a white helmet, and it looked kind of cool.
Yeah, the Browns are wearing that one.
Yeah, and the Bengals have already worn the white Tiger Bengals uniform. I'm always all for it. Like, I think it's fun. Like, just have as many uniforms as possible. Why not?
Yeah.
I guess let's talk real briefly NBA. Not a ton of news. The only things I remember is that Austin... what is that kid's name? The one that played
Austin Eckler.
Oh, no, I was thinking NBA.
Austin Rivers?
Austin Reeves
No.
of the
Austin
Lakers.
Reeves.
He's denied that he has ever even met Taylor Swift, so they're not dating, which isn't really NBA news. But he's like, no,
Wow.
he's like, I was at a party where she was at. He's like, that's the extent of it. He's like, I didn't even say hello. So,
Interesting.
and then James Harden, our favorite basketball player, he's removed everything 76ers from his Twitter, IG, and all of his biography stuff.
And you know what? I bet the Sixers wish they could remove James Harden.
Yeah. Because again, we talked about this a little offline. Like, the narrative out of Philly, and again, Daryl Morey comes from the media. He's got a lot of media influence. So they're always like, well, he held out for a star. And it's like, did you get one? And that was sort of our little debate offline. Is like, when you got James Harden in year 12 with over a decade of playoff failures where he came up very small and 2 times quitting on a team, including Houston, where he just came in out of shape and just seemed like he didn't want to be, and made it clear to everybody out there, like, I'll be on the court and get my paycheck, but you're not going to like what you see. Was it worth it?
Yeah. I just think he's a disruptor in every bad sense of the word.
Yeah. And I know, speaking of 76ers, since they seem to be the talk, he's since come out and said he was just trolling people, but Embiid did an interview where he said he just wants to win a championship and he doesn't care where.
Yes.
Yeah. And now if you gave up all these assets to get Harden and he goes for, the poo-poo platter in Los Angeles, or he comes to your team and makes everything, and then you lose Embiid in a year, like, that's a pretty bad look.
I would say I agree with that.
And then I saw something.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I saw something kind of crazy. They were showing stars that won championships with the team that drafted them. It's not the biggest list.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got, the Duncan Spurs, which obviously, which included David Robinson won his championship there.
You get the Bird Celtics.
The Bird
You
Celtics.
get the Magic Johnson Lakers.
Right.
The Michael Jordan Bulls.
Yes.
The Isaiah Thomas Pistons.
You kind of have the LeBron James Cavs, but he technically left, won a championship, and then came back, which is sort of like he did technically win with that. But I mean, a lot of guys have won championships with their second team. And obviously now you have Jokic and you have Giannis. So, I mean, it's not the smallest, but it was just like, those guys move around. Anthony Davis got his chip with somebody else. LeBron got his first chip with somebody else. So, it does happen.
It does. Well, let's go to the NFL, and I've got the most interesting NFL story of the week to start with.
Okay.
They took a poll of different personalities associated with the NFL.
Yes.
And they asked which NFL player should play Ken in the next Barbie movie.
Okay.
And the answer was?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think of good-looking Jimmy Garoppolo.
I would have thought Jimmy Garoppolo, but I guess he's not enough of a player. And I would have thought Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
The answer was Joe Burrow, which I think is a good answer.
Yeah, physically, I don't see it. Like, I see more of a Trevor Lawrence with his flowing locks and blonde.
He was second.
Okay.
Because of the flow.
The flow, yeah.
But, Joe Burrow would have Barbie out and dive bars, and he would ruin Barbie's reputation, I think.
He might. He just might, yeah.
But it was a fun thing. It was a fun thing to see.
Yeah. The not fun NBA or NFL developing story is that Austin Eckler and Saquon Barkley are having a running back summit. And they want to just discuss what they can do to try and as we pointed out, nobody's going to feel sorry for millionaire running backs. It's just never going to happen. But, as they point out, Austin Eckler was his team's leading rusher, and he had 30 more receptions than the next highest receiver. Their top receiver, Mike Williams, had 30 less receptions than Austin Eckler. And Austin Eckler makes less money than the third wide receiver on that team. Saquon Barkley was 40% of the Giants' offense. Daniel Jones didn't throw a touchdown in every game as a quarterback. There is some kind of, And I don't know what and again, we've talked offline, like, I don't know what the answer is. I feel like there's got to be some kind of way to make it slightly more fair for them. And I don't know what that answer would be, but.
Well, I'll tell you what the answer isn't. The answer is not holding out.
No,
and I tweeted out to Saquon Barkley. I said, if you're thinking about holding out, why don't you have a conversation with Le'Veon Bell?
Yes.
Because, again, it gets back to that. If you hold out, I don't care what that next contract's going to be a year later. You're a year older. You've been out of the game for a year. And you can't make up $10 million in the years you have left.
No, but that is what owners are hoping for, and that's,
It's just the reality of the system. You're not, if you lose $10 million, you're not making it up. If I give you a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, you're not going to finish the 3 years, obviously, because that's part of the problem here.
Odds are no.
Odds are no. But I'd have to pay you $3 million. I'd have to pay you $13 million a year, so a $39 million contract for 3 years. But you've already lost a year, so I just don't get it. So I just don't understand it. I don't think it's not fair, and it's not as fair as it could be. I'll give you both of those postulates.
And as I told you offline,
it's not as fair as it could be.
For the youth that
ain't changing.
No, but for the youth that I've worked with, because America's favorite phrase is "life's not fair." Those 3 words. But as I would tell kids that I worked with as a teacher and a counselor, that I went back into the cave and I brushed off the rest of the wall. And the phrase that the caveman eventually wrote was, "Life's not fair, but we need to strive every day to make it that way." And, from handicap ramps to bridges to everything. And no matter what it is, no matter how small and insignificant it seems, like, we should always be striving for the most fair, just society, no matter how hard it is.
Agree.
But let's do a fun. I didn't give you this offline. I forgot to. I meant to send it to you. These are stupid, but these are the top 10 teams according to John Madden Football 2024. You ready?
For the 24 season.
2024 season. Or for this season, but the game is Madden 24.
Okay, so it's the 23 season with the 24 Super Bowl.
So these are their top 10 teams, and let's see if there's any you disagree with. They have the Chiefs at number 1 with a 92 overall, and this is out of 100.
Chiefs is 1.
Chiefs are 1. Eagles, who they beat in the Super Bowl, 91 overall, right there at number 2.
Agree.
Bills at 90, right there at number 3. I agree they're in the top 10. I'm not sure if I'd put them at 3, but, I would put the next
team
in
the top 10. I agree with that. I don't see them as 3.
No. This team I would see at 3, which is the Bengals, 1 point below the Bills at 89.
Exactly. I see the Bengals at 3.
This one was the one that shocked me. Number 5 in an 88 overall, they have the Dallas Cowboys.
That's just, they were just saying that they thought the Dallas, I was watching the Talking Heads, and they were saying how close the Dallas Cowboys were to the Eagles. And I think that's closest to Grand Canyon.
Yeah. I think the Cowboys are really close to the Giants and whatever the Washington professional football team is going to be called with after the sale. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
Then they have the Ravens at 6. Another shocker at 7. Another AFC North team that's not the Steelers, Dad. They have the Browns at number 7.
I don't agree with that.
The Dolphins at 8. 49ers at 9. And then the Chargers, who I guess on paper, and it's certainly in a computer simulation why they would be 10. Because they have a lot of talent on that team, but they just come up short every single,
Yeah, I agree that they could be in the top 10 with the exception of the Browns.
Yeah.
But I think the Dolphins might be a little low.
I do too. I think the Dolphins are really good.
And I definitely think the Bengals are 3.
Yeah, I just think Joe Burrow is...
The Chiefs, I think, are the class of the AFC.
Yeah. And I feel like, much like, quarterbacks throughout... I mean, I feel like because you're existing in a world with Mahomes, I feel like a guy like Burrow probably gets less love than he would normally.
All right, I'm taking the Browns out of your top 10, and I'm substituting another team.
Okay.
I am substituting the Lions.
Ooh. Yeah, I think the Lions are going to be good, and they play in a division that,
Yeah, they play a division that no longer has Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, and still has, whatever is happening in the other franchises. Yeah, it's...
Yeah. And they're using their logo from their championship teams of the 50s.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And as we said, we're all pro uniform on this,
Yes, I love the Lions Honolulu blue. That's the exact name of the color.
Yeah.
I love that uniform. Honolulu blue and silver.
Well, that's probably enough sports talk for the day, but we do have some other talk, right? You have a new favorite?
We do.
Let's hear it.
So 4 movies I have to see. Oppenheimer in IMAX. Barbie, just because of everything that's been written about it.
Yeah.
And the initial reviews and people I've talked to. And, it sounds like it's much more than a Barbie movie. Sounds like it's got some real strong political overtones. The Indiana Jones movie, again, just because I've seen all the other Indiana Jones movies. I'm not saying I'm going to go see all 4 of these in a theater,
right.
Although I'm definitely seeing Oppenheimer in an IMAX. And then the Jessica Lawrence movie, what's it called?
Oh, the comedy. Yeah, that's... we mentioned it last week.
Yeah, those are the 4 I've got to see.
Okay.
Which is a lot of movies.
Yeah.
I'm anxiously waiting till next Friday till episode 10 of The Crowded Realm comes out.
Right.
I really liked it. I watched the 2 episodes of Justified, and Jason and I, without being a spoiler, there's a throwaway character that we wish would be thrown away. But we love Raylan. We love Timothy Olyphant as Raylan.
And the bad guy's
He's outstanding, and the bad guy's really good. They always have a great bad guy in these movies, except for when he did Michael Rappaport.
Yeah, which was just that would be my if I'm in a room with Olyphant or one of the creators of Justified, I got to know the story behind that casting.
Yep.
I
watched the After Party, the first year of the After Party, first season of that,
which is a very fun show.
And I enjoyed it. I thought Tiffany Haddish would make me laugh more.
Yeah, she's more the straight lady in this one. Like, she doesn't really get a chance.
She really is. But it was enjoyable, and we'll watch the second season.
Yeah, everybody else gets to bounce off of her, but she's sort of like the, just the straight person. She just, she's there for everybody else to be silly around while she tries to solve the case.
Yeah.
But if you have Apple TV, it's definitely worth a watch. So.
Oh, no question.
And we got to talk barbecue, because you have a new favorite barbecue restaurant, you said.
I do.
Tampa. Well, not in the world.
My food moment is Wicked Oak Barbecue, which, as with so many really good emerging restaurant stories, he started off in a food truck.
Yeah.
And just really did a phenomenal job. And now he not only has a brick and mortar in Seminole Heights here in Tampa, he also has a booth at Amalie Arena, which tells you something.
Oh.
So I had a smoke bomb, which is a smoked, really well smoked and cooked baked potato, loaded with brisket and cheddar and sour cream and butter and a few chives and queso, which is interesting. But it was a really, really good baked potato. And I had burnt ends, which they only have on Fridays, which were maybe the best burnt ends I've ever had.
There's a lot of barbecue restaurants. If you're looking for burnt ends, you're probably going to have to go on a Friday for whatever reason. But yeah.
Yeah.
There's only so many burnt ends to go around, so they just sort of,
It's a one-day thing, and it was very impressive. Very, very good. They had a great menu. I mean, they had everything. It's got kind of like a Puerto Rican Hispanic flair to it, too, on some of the things they have.
Okay.
Like their number one seller is it's called the Tampa Twofer. And it's a brisket, macaroni and cheese, and something else sandwich on Texas toast. That's their number one seller.
Okay.
Oh, I also went to a new Mexican restaurant up in Wiregrass called Casa de Oro. And what I ordered, I didn't get.
Okay.
But what I had was still good. I ordered a fajita quesadilla. And they brought me just fajitas, which were really good. I had shrimp fajitas, which were outstanding. But I have to go back now because I think I would prefer the quesadilla, the fajita quesadilla.
Okay.
Get a little crisper, and easier to eat. So we'll see. How about you? Did you have a food or did you have some entertainment?
I had some interesting entertainment. You know how Hollywood loves remakes?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've often said that, one movie I thought they should remake is the 1980s TV movie, The Final Countdown. Which, if you haven't seen, the premise is that a modern day aircraft carrier full of planes is sent back in time for 3 days to 2 days before Pearl Harbor. So they have to decide the moral dilemma of, should they intervene?
Can they prevent Pearl Harbor or?
But what
Yeah.
would the ramifications of preventing Pearl Harbor be? They have enough firepower on a modern day aircraft carrier to end the war that day if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's a TV movie that's just not very well done, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a TV movie. It goes on too long, but I mean, you cast that with a good cast and you amp up with some good writing, it could be incredible. But then I was flicking around and I watched the movie Cobra. You seen Cobra, Dad?
Sylvester Stallone?
Sylvester Stallone. Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the thing. I don't think that Cobra works in 2023, right? You can't have a testosterone-filled machismo guy run around saying stupid shit, right?
Well, unless they're running for president.
Unless they're running for president, yes. But in Hollywood, probably wouldn't fly. But the premise of the movie, a group of serial killers who meet and bang axes together and have influences on the cops and are trying to take out this one witness who knows who they are, and the cop trying to protect her despite, some things. If you took that in a more serious route, I think that works. Like, there's enough bones on some of these cheesy 80s movies that don't work based on what they had, but the bones of what they had works.
Okay.
So I think that's one where if you remade that movie, with like a Michael B. Jordan or a Gyllenhaal or somebody like that, and you stuck more with the story and the corruption and this group of serial killers sort of out causing havoc, and they have an agenda in the movie, and I don't want to spoil everything, but like that makes sense and I think still fits in today. But you just get rid of the Stallone impact, and then you cast a woman that he wasn't sleeping with that could actually act in the main role, and I think you've got something if you want to keep remaking stuff as opposed to remaking stuff that's good. And then my last one is I rewatched a Dennis Hopper classic, Dad. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
I didn't even know he was in that.
He's the star. But it reminded me because we had last year at Halloween, there was a new Netflix movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre where they tried to reimagine Leatherface in modern times. Mm-hmm. And it just reminded me that what that movie forgot is that if you look at your Mount Rushmore of slashers, right? You got your Jason, you got your Mike Myers, maybe throw in Freddy Krueger and probably Leatherface, right?
Right.
The thing is Jason, Michael, and Freddy, they're all solo artists. They're Beyonce, they're Taylor Swift. Where Leatherface has always been like Clapton and Cream. Like, he is the most famous member, but it's a supergroup. And if you take out, Bill Moseley in part 2 was sort of the hitchhiker in part 1, the crazy sketchiness. If you get rid of the house with the inbred family of cannibals, like Leatherface is more like a tool of that family, but you need the chaos of that family to make the horror work. And that's what the new one seemed to have forgotten. But yes, Dennis Hopper is in it, and he's in it.
I can't tell you how surprised I am about that.
Well, do you know who's in part 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No.
All right. I'll tell you. It's Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger.
And is Matthew McConaughey Leatherface?
No, he is Leatherface's brother, who's also the sheriff. But Matthew McConaughey also plays the corrupt part of the law that's part of this inbred cannibal family. And he plays the unhinged wild card, which is something that is present in every of the families. Like Bill Moseley in part 2 is like the premiere of it. He's gone on to play that role in Rob Zombie movies throughout his career. He just looks crazy. And he's got just a chaotic energy where you just never feel comfortable next to him. And I think that's what they sort of miss. But yeah, you'd be surprised at all the people that have been in those movies. So.
Well, you shocked the hell out of me with Matthew McConaughey and Dennis Hopper.
Yeah. I know.
Wow. I think we got to end on that, Jake.
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't think we could top that.
No, I figured I'd have at the end in case people weren't interested in my horror movie tribe, but there you go.
Wow.
And we'll come up with some more stuff for next week.
And as I end, Brian Harmon is still 12 under, and the next closest competitor is 7 under, and Mr. Harmon is on the 12th hole. Like I said, I don't see him blowing this lead. If he just play par the rest of the way, they got to play 5 better than par. And the guys that are chasing him, one is on the 15th hole, losing by 5 strokes. One's on the 14th hole, down 5 strokes. And one's on the 13th hole, down 5 strokes. So it ain't going to happen. He's going to win.
He's going to have to, yeah, true. Well, I guess premature congratulations.
He'd have to do Tin Cup.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll talk to you next week.
All right, everybody. Have a good week.